to yell at them, that was escalating the situation, not calming, wasn't it?
I disagree.
Why?
Because I didn't believe it escalated the situation.
There was no need to spray OC spray at Mr. Ryder either, was there?
I didn't spray OC spray at Mr. Ryder.
Who did?
Brett Geranius.
What's more, I suggest that once he was affected by the OC spray, there was then no need to force him firmly against the ground.
I disagree.
Let alone to punch him, although I understand you will always deny having done that, right?
I would need to see my statement. I would refer to my statement.
In relation, I'll move off that, in relation to the young fellow in the garbage bin incident. Instead of closing the lid on him and saying, gotcha, there were other ways to deal with him at that point too.
I do not necessarily accept that I say gotcha.
Whatever.
Whatever.
You could have simply stood back and told him to get out of the bin, right?
I believe I followed my training on the day. Obviously, there are very many different scenarios that could play out, very many options that could have been done. I stand by my decision on the day.
You clearly do. But do you accept that there were less forceful ways to have effected his arrest?
I maintain that I use the minimum force necessary.
When you tipped him out of the bin, pulled him along the ground, he was repeatedly saying, I'm sorry, sir, I'm sorry, sir, I'm sorry, sir, and things like that, wasn't it?
Correct.
There was no need to drag him out of the bin and handcuff him whilst he was on the ground, was there?
I followed my training in that regard and handcuffed him as I was taught.
It was consistent with your training to tell him to stand up and then to handcuff him, wasn't it?
No.
In relation to the incident at Araluen Park, it was consistent with your training and would have involved no force for you to stand in between the two men and say, stop fighting, and use your voice to direct them, right?
I disagree.
You didn't try to do that, did you?
No, I did not want to get punched in the head by both sides, by either man.
Are you seriously suggesting that one or either of those men would have been able to lay a punch on you if you separated yourself from them sufficiently?
By standing in between them? Yes.
You were aware that they were not young, right?
I'm not aware of their age.
You tell how old they were by looking at them, even just for the short time you did, right?
I'm not aware of their specific age.
You knew that they weren't young.
Oh, they were older than me, correct.
And you could see that they were unsteady on their feet.
To a point, yes.
I want to ask you some more questions about the incident with CW. In relation to that matter, as we were discussing yesterday afternoon, you gave an explanation to the people reviewing your use of force about why it is that you didn't have your body-worn footage on,
Yes.
body-worn camera on. Did you become aware that as a result of an investigation into that incident by your superiors, that it was determined that it was unlikely that your explanation about why you didn't turn your body-worn footage on was just not accurate?
I believe I may have been aware of one officer stating that.
Did you become aware that it was determined that your explanation was not credible?
Perhaps by the same officer.
Were you told that?
I may have read that at some points during the PSC process. This is after a long time after the arrest.
When ultimately this issue was dealt with, it was, to your knowledge, escalated to the Ombudsman. You agree?
To be honest, I didn't keep track of it. I believe this was after I was arrested.
But at any time after the 1st of April 2019, did anybody counselling you or giving you remedial advice tell you that your explanation about not turning your body-worn footage camera on was not credible?
When I read that as part of the PSC process after the arrest, that was the only time.
When you were given remedial advice about other incidents after the CW incident, did anyone ever talk to you about findings that you had given untruthful evidence or that you'd given incredible explanations?
No, there may have been mentions from the same officer in regard to other matters in PSC that have been mentioned in this coronial, but not in remedial advice.
Okay, so when you were counselled, whether it's in remedial advice or not, about any incident following Judge Borch's decision and following the finding by the PSC that your explanation about body-worn camera was not credible, were those two matters discussed with you in the context of subsequent complaints being determined?
Which two matters? Sorry.
Sorry?
Which two matters?
CW the finding by the PSC that your explanation was not credible,
Yes.
and Judge Borch's decision in the Malcolm Ryder case that found that you had lied on oath, were those two issues the subject of discussion in any way when you were being counselled for other incidents?
No, I don't believe so.
Was it the case that when you were given remedial advice, the focus of the advice was about the incident that was directly related to the advice?
I believe so, but I don't want to get this answer wrong. There is a document that should have all the elements and the summary of the remedial advice that's been given to me so far. And I just don't want to get it wrong.
But that's fine, but as you understand it, were each of them basically siloed?
I believe they were siloed, yes, whilst being given at the same time.
Some of them were given a long time after the event.
Yes, most of the remedial advice I was given in, I believe, towards the end of 2022.
And in some instances, that was more than 3 years after the incident was subject of the advice.
Yes.
It's not very satisfactory for anyone, is it?
No, that's not an effective form of correction at all.
Were you aware that there was consideration being given to disciplinary action in relation to the various matters that ended up being the subject of remedial advice in late 2022?
At multiple times after my arrest, I would receive emails involving Section 79s, which is a notice of internal investigation. Obviously, that was not my focus at the time. This was prior to the trial and the lead up to the trial. I believe I received a number of 79s the week before the trial was first set to begin in August 2021. Obviously, that was not my focus at that time. But throughout the process, at some points, there will be an email chain with 79s given to me.
It would appear that PSC or other police in authority over you turned their focus to your conduct in these other matters significantly after you were charged with the murder charge. Do you agree with that?
Yes, that's how I perceive it.
And would it be fair to infer that had you not been charged with murder, nothing would have happened about those other matters?
I object to that, Your Honour. That's not a question for this witness is in a position to answer.
Okay, well, I accept that. But Mr. Rolfe,
We can note that nothing seemed to happen beforehand.
Yeah. Mr. Rolfe, it's as a result of a review of your use of force complaints that that many of these issues came to light.
Yes, I believe so.
I do wish to play you part of the incident involving CW. So, Your Honour, this involves some footage.
Sure, we're coming to some footage, Mark.
I object.
On what basis, Mr.
Your Honour, the basis is we've had all this before. The footage has been played before.
I'm sure.
And this is traversing at great lengths and detail a material that the learned friend, Counsellor Sissing, has already traversed thoroughly and professionally already. And my client, this is now day 5 in the witness box. We have limited time. Our expectation and hope, I'm sure all of us, is that it will all be finished, at least so far as cross-examination from parties is concerned today. If we're to go back to the footage of incidents, then time will slip by, Your Honour. We've already started late, and I object to this matter being canvassed yet again.
Mr. Bolton, I take it you've got something specific that you wish to refer
Yes,
to.
there is something specific, Your Honour.
Sure, I'll allow the question and the playing of the footage.
This is from Sergeant Kirkby's body worn video. Yes, please. Sergeant Kirkby's body worn video. Yes, please.
I'm bleeding. You're under arrest for precinct. I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding. My glasses, man. I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding. I want to speak to my lawyer.
Can we bring that back off the screen? We'll play it through the speaker and hopefully it will load while we're arranging that. And we'll start from the 30-second mark again. I think this is an important clip. I'm going to go off the bench. It may be that it can be viewed without the audio and the audio can be played separately, but I'm just going to go off the bench for a couple of minutes.
Good
Good luck. We'll listen.
All I can say is, our two
No sound coming from your laptop.
I do agree if I drank coffee, but.
Which one's your plan? No, I was just abusing you for holding the proceedings up. That's not good.
How we going? Preparation, feelings.
It's going to plan. Tommy's gone. Charge is heavy.
It was. He's like such a good energy. He's a really lovely boy. Did he tell you about what happened last night?
He's always stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, him and Ed probably first and better in that respect.
First
Obviously last night, and also try to help people in that car crash without even thinking. Sorry to interrupt. Just like, okay, that's fine. Just use it actually really. Oh, okay, that's fine. They can go on because I do. They're ready to go. Yeah, okay, thank you.
No, that's what you always say.
You always use it exactly the same way,
No,
the grey one.
Yeah, back in my attention in the photo.
Don't spend more than 5 seconds choosing. The most important thing is that people can
Coronial court's now resumed. Please be seated.
Your Honour, I've noticed that there is a small omission from the transcript of page 5490. It concerns the statement made by Mr. Bowe, my learned friend Mr. Bowe, yesterday. It's the statement, you win that one. It's not on page 5490. I respectfully ask that the transcript, those who are recording the transcript could review that page again, and if they do hear that, put it into the transcript.
Sure.
Thank you.
Your Honour, could I just invite Mr. Officer to send an email to Ms. Walls about that so we've got an accurate understanding of it?
Thank you.
Mr. Bolton.
Thank you, Your Honour. Mr. Rolfe, I think now we can watch this clip. I ask that now be played, please.
I'm bleeding.
You're under arrest for breaching bail, Cleveland.
I'm bleeding.
You don't need to say
I'm bleeding.
My glasses, man.
I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding.
Why is he
I
bleeding?
want to speak to my lawyer. I want to speak to my lawyer.
Where are you bleeding? Where are you bleeding from?
Why did you do that?
Do
I want
what?
to speak to my lawyer. Now, why did you do that?
Do what?
I'm going to speak to my lawyer. He's taking me against the rock. Oh, he's kicking me in the dick.
No one's kicking him in.
You're on your stomach, no one's kicking you in the dick.
Fair enough.
Where are the...
I want to speak to my lawyer, brother.
You can speak to your lawyer.
Why you did that to me? Why you did that to me, brother? Brother, I know you. I made you jealous. But why did you hit me against the
Oh,
rock?
what the fuck?
I'm bleeding.
Got a camera on.
I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding. I need to speak ambulance. I need to see ambulance. I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding.
Stand up.
Why are you doing this? I know I'm making you jealous. But why you got to do this to me? I'm only a young fella.
That's what happened when you threw over the dirt. Hit you with a rock.
I seen you. I know. I felt what you
With a
done.
rock.
I felt what you done, brother.
When you threw over the dirt.
I felt what you done. My lawyer.
Okay.
My lawyer. I see my lawyer.
There's no lawyer
I
out
feel
here.
what you done. You must be getting jealous. But I'm stepping front.
Stop it, man. There's no one watching.
Maybe you should. I didn't see my lawyer. Brother.
No, not yet.
Why are you being like that to me, brother? I thought you were nice.
When you fall in the dirt.
I thought you were nice.
Don't knock up on him. Don't spit on him. Don't bleed on him.
I'm sorry.
Stop talking. Stop talking.
What's your name?
Stand up. Oh, whatever. Stand up, man.
Well, you would be. You've been running from us for a bit.
And you fell over.
Just stand up, man.
I got hit by a rock.
You got hit by a rock. You probably got hit by lots of rocks.
Stand up.
My glasses are falling off again. I'm dizzy. Oh, yeah, well, some time.
Oh, you lost your side.
Ah, fuck.
That's fishing.
Oh, you've got that.
You got that?
Yeah.
throughout CW's interactions with you and your colleagues, his complaints, constant complaints, were dismissively dealt with, weren't they?
At that time, it's obvious how they were dealt with.
They were completely dismissed as unnecessary interruptions to your work.
You can see how they were dealt with.
Well, you agree with that, don't you?
They were dealt with in the way that you can see on the body on video.
Yeah, we've all watched it. But you having watched it, you've been a participant, you would agree that your reaction was to dismiss what he was saying, right?
At that time, yes, it was not on the top of my priority list.
Could you explain why it is that you held him in the way that you did and told him don't bleed on him?
I believe I said don't spit on me or bleed on me.
Okay. And
Words to that effect.
What about telling him not to talk?
I believe watching that video, it looks like, again, my recollection, it would be best to refer to my statement at the time. But it believes that I was under belief that he was attempting to spit on me.
You didn't want him to keep accusing police of mistreatment, though, did you?
Incorrect.
In a statement made to this, or for the purpose of this inquest, then Detective Acting Commander Virginia Elizabeth Reed has stated that when she became aware of the Ryder matter and the similarities between Ryder's complaints and CW's complaints, she referred the Ryder matter to the Internal Investigation Division. What is the Internal Investigation Division?
I believe she'd be referring to PSC.
Were you made aware that the two matters had been elevated in that way?
At some points, yes. I'm not sure when.
She also said in her statement that the Ryder matter was referred to an officer from the Special References Unit to investigate. What is or was the Special References Unit?
I don't have a good knowledge of what the Special References Unit is. I'm aware of it. I'm not the right person to ask.
It's a police unit, is it not?
It's a police unit, yes. I've heard of it.
It's directly in the line of command of the Police Commission, is it not?
Again, I don't have much knowledge of the Special References Unit.
Do you understand that it was normally tasked with issues of tasked with investigating issues that related to significant matters of misconduct, not just police misconduct, but the misconduct of people holding public office?
No, I don't have information on the Special
Were you ever
References Unit.
contacted by anybody from the Special References Unit?
I don't know who's in the Special References
Or did
Unit.
a police officer come to you to say that they were investigating criminal conduct in relation to the matters concerning Mr. Ryder and or CW?
I don't believe so.
You became aware, did you not, of a complaint made about the conduct of police in relation to a man called Luke Madrell?
Yes, at some point.
In relation to that matter, you were involved in his arrest, were you not?
I believe so.
And this was another example of where your body-worn camera was not operative during the course of at least parts of your chase of Mr. Madrell and then his arrest.
I believe so.
Why wasn't your body-worn camera working when you were dealing with Mr. Madrell?
I can't recall.
This was in April 2019. By then, you had received a number of directions and remedial advice about making sure your body-worn camera was operative, hadn't you?
Correct.
You told the court here earlier this week that you started to comply eventually by that time, April 2019.
Correct.
Well, why would you not?
I can't recall. Options are I forgot or it was out of battery.
You're aware, aren't you, that Mr. Madrell accused you of dealing harshly with him and inappropriately using excessive force?
I believe so. I know we've talked about this before. I can't recall the specific incident.
The incident involved him leaving a house, running into bushland, where he was chased. And the accusation was that after running for some time, he stopped and put his hands on his back and said, "I've stopped, just arrest me, or arrest me now." Were you involved in dealing with a young man in circumstances like that?
No.
Never.
Or ever.
Was this, so do you remember Madrell?
Now that you've mentioned it, yes.
Okay, so that's what happened, isn't it?
No.
I suggest that when he stopped, you picked him up and slung him down, and he rolled down a hill
Incorrect.
and collided with a rock.
Incorrect.
I'd like you to watch some footage in relation to this incident as well, please. Can we play this tape from shortly before 1.34, 1 minute 34?
We're just going to have a little rest on the hill and then we'll come down.
Sir.
Yo.
Can you make my knee there, please?
Which bit?
I can say,
Itchy.
You'll start it again.
Oh, yeah, you got a little graze.
Can we turn the sound up somehow, please?
We've just done that, so we're starting
Okay,
again.
thanks.
Is that up as high as it will go, the sound?
For 601, Lizzie, we're just
I
going
know
to
there's some
have a
interpreting.
little rest on
Can
the
we just stop for a second? Can we just stop the interpreting for a moment? Just for a moment, because we need to, it's hard to hear, but But you can start again in a minute, just while we're playing this tape. Thank you.
For 611 proceedings, we're just going to have a little rest on the hill and then we'll come down.
Sir,
Yo.
can you rub my knee there, please?
Which bit?
I'm just there, yeah.
Itchy?
Nah, I banged my knee.
Oh. Oh, yeah, you got a little bit. It's got a rest on your front. When you stand up, we'll just start cuff, okay? Just let's go cuff.
Your Honour, could we go back to the very start, please? I missed the start.
A request to go back to the
I
start.
think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Let's go have a little rest on the hill and then come down.
Sir,
Yeah.
can you rub my knee there, please?
Which bit?
I'm just there, yeah.
Itchy?
Nah, I banged my knee.
Oh. Oh, yeah, you got a little bit. It's got a rest on your front. When you stand up, we'll just start cuff, okay? Just let's go cuff. We'll just stand down, bro. We'll sit up. We'll sit and cuff over the top. Sit on this rock, eh? You'll sit on this rock. Well, go on. Let's stand up. Let's cuff, eh? And I'll put a cuff on top of it. Is it that right one, eh? There we go. You and your family.
Right? Yeah, brother.
Shoot, shoot. That's you. How's your boyfriend? Your boyfriend with you guys coming?
No, just what you say, so I saw this one. My knee. Oh, so what's going on?
Luke, I reckon the best way to go down is this path down here, okay? I'll walk first. You just walk behind me, eh? If you fall, you follow me.
I think that's enough. That's your body worn footage, isn't it?
I believe so, yes.
You're able to turn it on.
Yes. So, as I said, memory issues, it wasn't out of batteries, so I must have forgot.
Wasn't turned on until after Mr. Madrill had been detained.
Correct.
He complained to you that you banged my knee, or he said he banged my knee. Did you hear that?
I said something about banging. I heard something about banging knee.
He was saying someone had banged his knee. Right?
That or that he had banged his knee.
Suggest he didn't say I banged my knee, but that you banged my knee or he banged my knee.
I don't know.
So I suggest that it was clear on the hill that he was making an allegation of rough handling.
I disagree.
Okay. When the matter was considered by the PSC, they determined that there was insufficient evidence to determine whether you used excessive force in that arrest, didn't they?
I'd accept that.
That's because there was no video footage of...
Well, I object. We don't know why the PS, but that's right. I object.
You understood that their finding was as a result of there being no video footage, right?
I I have to re-look at this finding.
So, just generally then, in relation to the various matters that have been the subject of review in these proceedings regarding your use of force, where there was your version of events in contrast to the arrestee's version of events, but no footage, it was generally determined there was insufficient evidence to establish the complaint. Do you agree?
You'd have to take into account the other police officers' statements as well if they were corroborative.
Whenever you were interviewed or counselled in relation to excessive use of force, was the other version put to you as being the likely version?
I was never counselled in use of force in my professional standards interviews in use of force. I believe those interviews are recorded. And they'd be very similar to this interaction.
I want to ask you about an incident that occurred on the 28th of June 2019 at Walkley Camp involving your interaction with Antonio Woods. Do you know the incident I'm referring to?
I recall the name. I need a rehash on the incident.
It's an incident where you and other officers were called in response to a report of a fight, and when police came to the area, Mr. Woods started to run away. He ran towards a truck stop on the Stewart Highway. Refresh your memory.
I would need to hear the actual elements of the complaint.
Okay, so what I'll do is play you some footage now.
Yes.
About that incident. So can we play Mr. Kirstenfeld's body-worn footage of this incident from about 5 minutes and 50 seconds?
Sit up. That guy, sit down. Sit up. Sit there. Sit up. Do not do that silly shit again. Okay? Quit mucking about, son. You're in good hands, alright? Hey. You were laying in the dirt, but I'm sitting up. Why not? You been drinking? I smell it in there. You tired from that run? Are you hurt? I've seen you fall over.
A couple of weeks ago.
Whereabouts? You got injuries? In the weather face? Wait, Anton. Is that why you went back there? Are you going to live somewhere, bud? You can't hear me? Well, you just stay sitting up there, alright? Don't do that silly shit again. Hey? You're standing there, that's because you're laying in the bloody dirt. No, I picked you up. No, you did. Don't excuse me shit again. Hey? Yeah. Sergeant, this young gentleman, Anton Woods, he'd been running from the location. phone? Okay. He said that he got hit earlier by these people, and that's why he's gone around there. You can speak now, Anton. Sorry, speak up, mate. Speak up, what happened? We're trying to help you out here. You what, sorry? Well, you ran from us, mate, so it's a little, we have to chase you down to help you. Yeah, so, get into it. Because I didn't say jump first. Oh. No one's going to hurt you, mate. No, I'm never going to hurt you. So you never live to the hospital. Give me a look at your face. You said you were hit.
One of your friends kicked my face into the dirt.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. What's that? So once he's running, that isn't one help anymore. What was with the old lady, bro? You said it was other people that hit you there. Well, how about this, Anton? You can come back to the watch house, have a sleep, no trouble. How's this sound? Because you're pretty intoxicated and I understand. Well, giving you the option here, mate. Giving you the help. Well, you'll be completely safe with us. No one will hit you where we're going. It's called protective custody. No, it's not arrest. It's called protective custody.
I remember that they were making his face.
No one.
I don't know what it is, but I know his name, Ben. Ben, that's what things like Ben does. Alright, everything okay?
Totally. Mr. Woods accused people who chased him of kicking him in the face after he was brought down.
Correct.
What do you say about that allegation?
I wasn't the officer that chased him. If you delve deeper into that complaint, I think you'll be able to see, I know at some point that complaint was directed to me. That complaint shouldn't have been directed to me. I wasn't the officer that chased him.
Did you see who chased him?
No. See who chased him. I believe the officer involved was either the other two officers there. It was one of them. It was either Constable Kirstenfeld or Constable Hanson. The other one being in the vehicle with me, who had to drive to the location that the person had been and ended up at with the other officer.
When he was making the allegations, there were police standing close by who were laughing. Were you one of the people laughing?
Correct. I believe I was having a separate conversation with the other officer that rocked up. I can't recall what was said, but it wasn't laughing at the allegation.
The officer who was speaking to him, Mr. Kirstenfeld, dealt with him. I'll withdraw that. Was it appropriate, do you think, for Mr. Kirstenfeld to threaten to put him in a van for talking?
Not for talking, no. Not for interrupting him, no.
I apologise for interrupting, Mr. Bolton. I just felt that the interpreter should feel free to interpret any of this.
Yes, sorry for interrupting you before. It was only because we were trying to listen to this audio.
In relation to Mr. Wood's complaint, you received remedial advice in July 2022 about not having the video camera operated, didn't you?
I accept that.
So this is well into 2019. How common was it in 2019 that you decided not to turn your video camera on when exercising the police powers?
I cannot recall. I wasn't exercising a police power at that time. I had arrived to potentially provide a conveyance that I didn't end up doing.
In relation to the incident that we've seen on videotape several times in these procedures, including earlier this week, involving Mr. Bailey.
Yes.
Approximately how long before you started to run towards Mr. Bailey was it that you were aware of Mr. Bailey interacting with his ex-partner in that location?
I'm not sure.
Approximately.
I believe the body worn would assist, but I could have been watching them for 10 to 20 seconds.
It was apparent that there was an argument happening between a man and a woman, right?
I believe it was worthy of note as I kept watching that interaction. There was some form of lively verbal discussion occurring.
Did you get the impression that it was some sort of incident between a man and a woman?
Well, that's extremely vague, so yes.
It's not vague. You could see that there was a woman trying to intervene between the pair of the arguers, right?
I can't recall if I saw it at that point.
Did it occur to you that that was an issue that needed police intervention?
Not at that time. I believed it was an issue that needed me to continue watching it to see if something changed.
In the description of the incident that you included in your use of force report, you described having seen Mr. Bailey attempting to headbutt the lady, correct?
Correct.
In your evidence here, at least at one stage earlier this week, you described intervening after you saw him headbutt the lady. Do you remember saying that earlier this week?
Yes.
Do you accept that your contemporaneous impression was an attempt at a headbutt rather than an actual headbutt?
I believe that obviously a attempt at a headbutt occurred. On inspection of the victim's face, there were no injuries. So I'd accept that it was an attempt, still constituting assault.
That's not denied. You had various ways to deal with Mr. Bailey that fell short of pushing him against the wall, didn't you?
I believe I abided by my training in that incident.
It was also consistent with your training not to push him up against a wall.
Correct. The intention was had nothing to do with the wall.
You described what you did to the man as mashing his face or something in a text message. Do you accept that?
Yes.
And when you described it in that way, you regarded it as just another incident, didn't you? Wasn't special.
I don't agree with that.
I also, like other counsel, now suggest to you that your policing methods throughout your time in Alice Springs involved aggressive conduct that was unnecessary.
I disagree.
You were interested in injecting yourself into situations in a violent way, weren't you?
I disagree.
You were taken to text messages earlier this week that involve your discussion about violence as being therapeutic, as it were, soothing your soul.
Correct.
Was it your experience from your discussions with colleagues, other police, that they also said similar things about violence being therapeutic for them?
No, only a exceptionally small number who conduct similar activities outside of work as me.
But are you saying that you enjoyed the violence in sparring or in boxing?
Did I enjoy that?
Yeah, did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Even when it involved physical harm to yourself?
You're basically wearing pillows on your hands, so there wasn't much harm involved.
Text messages got photographs of you after sparring sessions by the look of it. Someone's had a good go at you in at least some of those situations.
Correct, and I would say a bloody nose is extremely small on the scale of harm.
Okay, so I'll ask you again. Even in sparring, when you were dealt with violently, did you like it?
I enjoyed sparring, correct, yes.
Okay. So did you enjoy harming others?
No.
Even in sparring?
No, I believe if any of my previous sparring partners throughout my history of boxing would enjoy sparring with me, as soon as I saw that they were in any form of trouble at all, I would always pull back.
The photographs at the back of the exhibit, sorry, the MFI Triple M,
I say no.
involve is a depiction that's more than just a bloody nose. Picture number 6. Do you agree?
Is there a small cut on my eye?
There's a cut on your eye and there's blood around your nose and around your mouth.
Correct. Obviously, if you get a bloody nose, that blood can continue to be moved around your face. It did not bother me. That did not hurt me.
Have you got the document handy, Triple M?
I'm about to.
Before that's produced to the witness, can I just ask as to the relevance of recreational boxing?
I've moved off the boxing.
Juxtaposed with...
It's to do with any enjoyment of violence.
Before you're on it, there's a difference between enjoying violence I submit, and engaging in what is otherwise a perfectly lawful and recreational sport, one of which, naturally, as a consequence, that you are punching each other in the head or the body, whatever it might be, doesn't necessarily impute the conclusion that violence is enjoyed. So I query the relevance of the topic in that
It
context.
doesn't necessarily impute that, but it might, and Mr. Bolton's exploring that.
Take it as your overall in my objection.
Yes.
If you could go to the text messages that start at 487, please, Mr. Rolfe.
Yes.
This is an exchange between you and Mr. Hanson in September 2019, where Mr. Hanson told you that he's going to apply for a job in Port Keats, correct?
Correct.
And you said, I think anything's a good idea at this point. How many spots are there? It's supposed to be pretty wild, isn't it?
Yes.
And he said, yeah, it's loose. The blacks are drunk full time. Remote work will probably get us a spot in TG, and we will probably get to scratch the itch before then anyway. You see that?
Yes.
You replied to that message, I'm into it, really into it. You see that?
Yes.
And Mr. Hanson responded, yeah, bro, fuck these commies, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the two of you were discussing the option of applying for a job in Waddy, right?
Yes.
And the fact that there was a lot of trouble in that community was something that attracted you and Mr. Hanson, it seems, correct?
I'm not sure that I was ever into that idea. I thought it was a good idea for him, but yes, I guess that versus the other end of the scale being at an extremely low-paced or boring station, I accept that, yes.
You said you're into it, right?
Correct, I think it's a good idea.
Because it's loose, it seems.
That's what he says. Myself or that constable, I don't think would enjoy a particularly slow station ever.
What did you understand him to be talking about when he said, yeah, it's loose? The blacks are drunk full time.
I believe Port Keats. I know nothing about the local population's alcohol habits, but I believe from what I've heard that it is a fairly, it could be described as a wild or a loose place.
There was plenty of opportunity for you to use your style of aggressive interactions at Port Keats, wasn't it?
I never applied for Port Keats.
But in that moment you were showing interest in it, right?
I believe I was showing support for his idea of going there.
You were proud of your masculine, aggressive policing, weren't you?
I wouldn't call it that at all.
Who were your role models in life?
I don't know how that's relevant, and
Your Honour, I do query the relevance of someone's role models in life.
Well, we're talking about attitudes and how it might impact on behaviour, particularly in relation to policing, particularly when police are given powers over the local public. And in my view, role models might assist us to understand the attitudes and aspirations of Mr. Rolfe in carrying out his work and duties.
We want to know other witnesses, I recall it, presented before this court has been asked who their role models were as police officers. Why Mr. Rolfe has been singled out in that respect, I can't see the relevance of. If we're looking at the attitudes of police and their role models when they turn to the use of force in the course of their duty, what possible relevance that can have.
Your Honour, I'm reminded by Mr. Coleridge that he asked both Lanyon Smith and Chris Hand who their role models were, and mentors.
Who?
Lanyon Smith.
Who asked?
Who Mr. Coleridge asked because he took that evidence, both officers' hands.
So he's not being singled out.
Was that within the police
Mr.
force
Officer.
or role models generally? It's a long time ago that
I recall asking both of those witnesses about who their mentors were, the importance of good mentorship, what good mentorship was. I also asked Sergeant Bowles questions about his being identified as a role model only last Thursday.
So perhaps one of the questions, who was your role models within the police force, I wouldn't have an issue with, but I think when we get to external role models, maintain my objection. So we'll see where the question goes.
Sure.
And be standing for time being.
Did you have any role models in the police force?
Yes, I believe we've mentioned a few of them before. I stand by those statements. I'm not willing to mention any other role models in the police force due to the negative connotation of being attached to me that's perceived in the police force anymore.
Right. What about out of the police force?
Right. Make the objection again, now the question has moved to this
I'm
point.
going to allow the question. In my view, it informs us as to attitudes which may impact on behaviour. Mr. Bolton.
If you ask me specific people, I can say yes or no. I've had many role models throughout my life.
What about in 2019? Who did you look up to?
Same answer as before.
What was that?
I've had many role models throughout my life. If you ask me specific people, I can tell you yes or no.
What, you can't tell us any of the role models?
I have lots of role models that I've looked up to.
What about Vladimir Putin?
No.
He's the man, isn't he?
I've made jokes in my text messages about Vladimir Putin. Yes. I know nothing about that political scene.
Didn't you find his vigorous athleticism and front-footedness something that was attractive?
I object. The fact that a politician in today's current climate, differently years ago, and as the witnesses answered, that messages contained in relation to that individual were a joke. To then explore the extent to which Vladimir Putin had a bearing on Mr. Rolfe's professional career is just too far removed to proceed with that line of question.
I don't know that that will assist me, Mr. Bolton.
Thank you.
Court pleases. Going to the events that are central to the inquest here. When you were in Yuendamu that afternoon and evening, the night of the death, in retrospect, do you think that it would have been of some assistance to the operation to engage with Derek Williams?
In retrospect, yes, and at the time, I'm not sure if I was aware that Derek Williams was actually in community or at work. I can't recall, but at the time, I definitely believed engagement with the local members would have been assistance in regard to them coming out with us into community.
Do you accept that there were cultural sensitivities that you were really not across when you went out to gather intelligence?
Yes.
Do you accept that it was preferable to wait till 5 o'clock in the morning to execute the arrest?
No.
Do you accept that at 5 o'clock in the morning it was likely that you would have very good intelligence about where it was that Kumanjayi was located?
Definitely not.
When you jumped over the fence into that house, you were jumping into a person's private space, weren't you?
In a way, yes.
In a way which is not the same as jumping over the fence into a house in Darwin, Canberra, or Sydney. Do you agree?
I think that might be a little confusing question, perhaps. I understand. My assumption is this is tied to cultural sensitivities, perhaps. That's where Mr. Bolton is going. Should be prefaced on that.
I don't think there needs to be a preface. He's being asked, does he understand that jumping over a fence into a private space in a community is different from urban centres? There's nothing confusing about the question. There's nothing about the language. There's nothing about the tone.
No, I'm not complaining about the tone.
No, well, I don't understand the objection. It's a clear question which is being asked, and your client has every capacity to answer it. What's the issue?
The confusion is when you say it's different to jump over a fence in community as it is to a place in Darwin. How high is the fence? What's the fence made of? Of course it's different. I don't understand.
I think your client probably understands. Why don't you let him have a chance at answering the question?
See, there's a difference, isn't there?
Similar fence, similar yard, regardless of the city, no difference.
As far as you understood it at the time.
Yes.
What about now?
Same answer.
Well, did you regard it as potentially being disrespectful to enter the property the way that you did?
No.
Do you accept that that space was likely to be an extension of those occupants' normal living space, with little difference between the outdoor and the indoor sections of the property?
I don't see a difference between in that situation, the house and the yard. It's the same concept that I see in any other city, in any other house and yard.
When you went to that house, there was very limited information available to you about your suspect's life history. Do you agree?
Agree.
Had you made any attempts to find out background information about him before you went out to gather intelligence about him?
Only regular interrogation of the police systems.
Did that tell you about any cognitive impairments that he had?
I don't believe so. I would have to refresh on the alerts that were on him at the time.
Do you have a view about whether police who are about to execute a planned arrest would be assisted by the police system having information about particular cognitive issues that a person has?
Definitely, if there was a way to work in conjunction with those mental health facilities in town and morph that information, most definitely.
During the time that you were here, being a police officer, did you receive information over the police databases or from the police data that assisted you in assessing the cognitive functioning of the target?
I believe sometimes there were alerts to that effect, yes.
You've spoken about startle response. I think particularly as you saw it in the videotape of Mr. Lanyon Smith and Mr. Hand's interactions with Kumanjayi.
Yes.
Clearly, people you police also have startle responses to police, don't they?
Like other police officers have those same startle responses.
No, the people that you're policing.
Or the people you yes.
Offenders, suspects. It would have been fair to say that in your experience here in Alice Springs and in other communities around Alice Springs, did you get the impression that quite often people were a little bit wary, at least, of their interactions with police?
Yes.
And did you get the impression that it was very common for Aboriginal people here to be frightened of police, even if they'd done nothing wrong?
I'm not sure of frightened, and I would say their feelings towards us, I did not notice any more or less wariness than I would in interaction with anyone of any other race.
Do you understand that many people in Alice Springs have had interactions with police that they would regard as traumatic?
I'm not sure what many means in regards to the population, but I'd accept some would, yes.
Did you have sufficient understanding that people's life experiences might cause them to react to police in negative ways?
I knew people's previous life experiences would affect their decisions in some ways.
Did you modify your methodology in any way to account for that?
I tried to treat everyone as politely and respectfully and calmly as I could.
You didn't always, though, did you?
I tried to.
Would it be fair to say that there were times when you acted on muscle memory?
Yes.
What do you mean by that, by the way?
A reflex response, such as raising my left shoulder and left arm when I was being stabbed.
So, what do you say to the suggestion that one of your reflex responses was to go into an aggressive mode of detaining people by use of force?
I disagree, and I would need more time to consider the actual helpfulness of an answer if I could delve into it.
Are you aware that there is a review into the Northern Territory Police Service force on foot?
No. Unless I believe there's a small review being conducted in PSC. Apart from that, I'm not aware of anything.
Okay. This morning, some of your notes were produced to the court. These were notes that had previously been intended as communications with your lawyers, right?
Correct.
You were anticipating that you would be questioned about your racist attitudes, perceived racist attitudes at this inquest, weren't you?
Yes.
So you did a lot of thinking about what answers you might give to the questions about those topics.
I believe there was not much thinking I needed to do in that regard at all.
But you certainly thought about it sufficiently enough to write yourself notes and then to provide them to your lawyers about what you might say if questioned, right?
Not in regard to that, I don't believe. I believe I was, in that page, that was under the impression if I was asked about, for example, racism as a culture in the police force. In regard to myself personally, there's no need for me to think about the wrongness of what I said.
Well, what you were going to do, it would seem from these notes, is exactly what you did do in your evidence on Monday, when you were taken to the racist language in your notes. Turn your answer into a spotlight on other instances of overt racism that you were aware of or believed you were aware of in the Northern Territory Police, right?
I answered the question that I was asked, yes.
Well, that's the way you answered, right?
Yes.
It would seem from your notes that one aspect of racism in the Northern Territory Police that you thought might be pertinent was the use of Aboriginal community police officer to be present during the arrest of an Aboriginal person. Agreed?
I believe that these are thoughts at the time that I'm still reflecting on. Obviously, I didn't answer that question, but now asking why I put that on there, I was reflecting on it and thinking of it. I believe if the rule is made that an ACPO or an Aboriginal person has to be in the presence when arresting an Aboriginal person, but there is not a similar rule for other races, that is racist. Clearly, to me, I believe that is racist.
Okay, so just so that everybody understands the context of my question and your answer, the note at the point we're discussing reads racism. The idea that an ACPO is required to be there to arrest an Aboriginal person, racist. No mention of any other races requiring people of their own race to be there despite cultural differences. That's the note that we've been discussing just now.
Yes.
So you regard well, firstly, is there a requirement that an ACPO needs to be present for the arrest of an Aboriginal person?
No, not at all. I was just thinking, I believe at some point that was put forward as a potential idea in this coronial.
Do you believe that it's often very useful to have an ACPO assist in an arrest of an Aboriginal person?
I have arrested a large number of people who are Aboriginal, and depends on the situation. It depends on the situation. It also depends on the ACPO, whether they're good or bad at their job.
Do you believe that it's inappropriate to criticise you for, or any other officer, for failing to involve an ACPO in the arrest of an Aboriginal person?
I believe that is too vague and it would need to be situation dependent.
So I want to tackle you on this idea that all people should be policed in exactly the same way. That's your philosophy of policing, isn't it?
I believe it's on an individual, personal basis.
Yeah.
I don't believe a generalisation to a race should be involved in policing.
But what if Aboriginal people in Central Australia have many, many characteristics that are almost to the point of uniformity? Does that make a difference to the way that they should be dealt with?
That, to me, sounds like a great generalisation, and I don't agree with it.
So, in another part of these notes, you focused on a question that Peggy Wire asked of Mitch Hanson in this inquest. Quote, you know, don't you, that not all Aboriginal people are the same, and it's offensive to think of all Aboriginal people being the same culture. And then you say that Paddy McCormack was referred to as a typical Irishman, which would be similar in the way of being an umbrella of ethnic or national discrimination.
Yes.
So, are you suggesting that there might be a problem with treating Irish people in racist ways in Australia, are you?
No, that was just me pondering it's just me pondering the differences of how people are being treated in the NT, in the police, in this coronial.
on Monday, you made some very, very serious allegations about the TRG annual party.
Yes.
You're aware, aren't you, that since then a number of police from the TRG have made statements that refute some aspects, at least, of what you said in evidence on Monday, right?
Yes.
Do you have any further information about the award ceremony that you referred to that would assist the coroner to find out the truth of the matter?
Yes.
What have you got?
I believe my lawyers are in the possession of a certificate for the award. I believe it's called the Nugura Award, issued in 2013 for a caution for a rape to a recipient called, who was a police officer at the time, called...
Sorry to interrupt the answer.
Well, you haven't objected to the question. I'm not sure why you're interrupting an answer.
Your Honour, just that there be a, perhaps I can raise a matter with the council assistant before the answer is complete.
If my learned friend's worried about the name being given in public, then Mr. Rolfe will write it down on a piece of paper.
Sorry, what name are we talking about?
I don't know.
Interim non-publication.
Is there a name that's already the subject of a non-publication order?
No, Your Honour, there's not.
Right. And you're asking that a non-publication order be made in relation to a specific name?
Yes, Your Honour, so that any inquiry can be undertaken by the investigators.
Oh, I think I've already written on it.
Are you content to receive the name on a piece of paper, Mr. Bolton?
Is this the name of rape victim?
No.
No, it's the name.
Recipient of an award.
I'll finish the answer without the name and I'll put the name on the
A
paper.
police officer who apparently received this award.
Oh, okay. Well, if
And it's being asked that there be a non-publication order at this stage so that the matter can be further investigated.
I have no problem with that, Your Honour.
Okay, we'll get the name written on a piece of paper and it can be handed to you. It can be marked for identification, and once it's made available to council at any council who wish to see it, it can be placed in a sealed envelope.
So I think Mr. Rolfe is saying.
Sorry, I just said it could be wrong spelling, but it should be right now.
And that's MFI triple T.
I note that these documents that were subject of a call have not yet been given a marking either.
So they should be.
Well, they could be an exhibit, but they're suppressed other than for those areas that have been openly addressed in court.
Might that document in your hand, perhaps that should be triple T and this should be triple U, I think.
So this is MFI?
Yes, please, Your Honour, triple T. And the piece of paper Mr. Rolfe has just written on MFI triple U, please, Your Honour.
Yes, Mr. Bolton.
Mr. Rolfe, your answer got interrupted. It's been a fair bit happened. How about we go back and do that again?
Yes.
You were telling us that there is something extra that helps to prove your allegation. Tell the court what you're talking about, please.
The officer I just mentioned was a member of, I believe, the dog squad in 2013, the canine unit in Darwin. He has passed on some certificates, one that he received, one that he alleges he receives in 2013 on invitation to this annual party. This award, I believe, is the Nugura Award given for I believe the wording is a caution for a rape, with the backdrop of the Aboriginal flag. He has given 2 further awards that were given out in 2012. The names of the recipients for all 3 have been blacked out. I believe one is a Nuguda award and one is a Sooty award. I can't recall what they were given for. I believe they are in the possession of my lawyers.
Sorry, they're what?
I believe now they're in the possession of my lawyers.
Call for them.
Mr. Officer.
I think the first one's already.
Mr. Bolton, do you want to have a look at those?
If the court allows me to, I'd be very interested.
They're called for and produced by the looks of things.
I'd like to see them also, Your Honour.
Yes.
Where'd you get these?
Pardon?
Where'd you get them from?
These were passed on this week from that officer, as previously mentioned.
So the man whose name's on the piece of paper?
Yes.
Right. Was he the recipient of these awards?
I believe he stated he was the recipient of the 2013 award.
And what about these ones from 2012?
I do not know who those recipients are.
But he had them?
Yes, and I believe he's willing to provide a statement to police or others.
How did you come to know about these awards?
I was aware of it through speaking on the grapevine during the job whilst I was in service. I wasn't aware of these certificates' existence until I mentioned it on Monday, I believe, when people started to reach out.
So you weren't aware of the certificates till Monday?
I believe I didn't, so I didn't know that there was certificates involved.
Sorry?
I don't believe I knew there was a certificate involved. Once I mentioned this award on Monday, ex-members of NTE Police started to reach out, and this is when they were provided after Monday.
Got it. So the 2013 award, it's got everything to do with Aboriginality, hasn't it?
Definitely.
It's the whole award is an Aboriginal flag, isn't it?
Correct.
So did the person who got the award tell you why he got the award?
I believe he's spoken to my lawyers. I haven't spoken to him personally.
All 3 of these photocopies have got blackouts, texto blackouts. Do you know why they've got blackouts on them?
I believe they blacked out the recipients' names.
One from 2012 is the runner-up for the Sooty Award. Does anyone talk to you about why the award's called the Sooty, or was called the Sooty Award?
Only the same reason given in the statements provided by the police.
So basically, it's a form of blackface.
Potentially. I honestly have not heard the term sooty before I was received this award.
So the 2012 runner-up for the Sooty Award was for outstanding lack of excellence in approaching a stronghold, has got a picture of a police rescue vehicle, tactical vehicle, with superimposed on it photograph of Hussein Bolt
Yes, I believe so.
with the head blacked out, right?
Yes.
So presumably this was a pastiche that had an officer's head where Mr. Bolt's head would have been in the original photograph.
I don't know that.
Okay, don't press that.
I read some statements that have been tendered and are on the website. I might be wrong, but my understanding of the statements that were provided in relation to the use of the word sooty is that it was a reference to, it was a nickname of a police officer, but I might be wrong about that.
Perhaps I can assist in this regard. Specifically, there's the statement of Sean Hill.
I'm not saying anything about what is in the statements. I'm just saying that's the information that's contained in the statements.
Correct, Your Honour. At paragraph 8.2, he gives his understanding of the background to the name. And that's his statutory declaration of 28 February.
Thank you. Have you read all those statements from the police officers that have been gathered since Monday?
I read the relevant parts of the statements in regard to the award, not their background in policing, etc.
Okay, well, in your dealings with police that have proactively sought you out since Monday, have you received further information that might differ from the accounts of the police that have provided statements?
No, I just differ from those statements. Yes. Just information disagreeing with those statements, but those officers have stated they are willing to give statements of their own, and that would probably be better from them, but they are, yes, the evidence or the information I've received disagrees with those statements. Or at least that they are omitting information.
So may I ask, as an outsider to all of this, what, if anything, has been done to point the investigators towards those people?
I believe the investigators have spoken to one of these people who's been willing to provide statements. This person I wrote down, so there's another name who would be willing to provide evidence to the police about this. I believe he's already been in contact with the police, and he is awaiting instructions on how that will be done, either through the police or ICAC. This person, I don't believe his name has been passed on to the police.
Which person?
The one on the piece of paper. I believe he is willing to go down the same process.
You said ex-members. You've nominated 2. Are there others?
I'm sure there are. I don't recall their names. These 2 may have mentioned others, but I don't. These two are the ones to ask.
On Monday, you talked about there being photographs
Yes.
and movies. What were you talking about?
I've heard that there are photographs and movies.
Who's got them?
I'm not sure, but I have heard that members involved, ex-members, are searching for them.
I tender these certificates.
Could I see them, please?
I wish they be tendered.
They will be exhibit 28.
Yes, the 3 certificates as a bundle will be exhibit 28.
Your Honour, just before my learned friend resumes, what I can say to you is that the Professional Standards Command is in the process of an investigation oversighted in the usual way by RCAC into the matters that have been raised by Mr. Rolfe, and no doubt would be pleased to receive any other information from him or anyone else that's relevant to these issues.
Do you know the names of any other recipients of the Mugera or Mugura award?
I don't know.
What about members of the IRT? Have they ever received that award or awards at the TRG? The type of awards you've been talking about?
We've never been in Darwin as IRT.
No, then my question is, have members of the IRT where you serve, have they received such an award at the TRG and in Parliament?
I have no knowledge of that.
At all? Not even second hand?
No, I don't.
Right. Just have one more thing to ask you. One more thing about your notes to ask you.
Yes.
And then we'll break for lunch.
Thank you. Under the heading Racism Police, there's a dot point that simply reads Black Diary.
Pardon?
Black Diary, quote, Catherine Panata, unquote. What
Yes.
are you talking about?
I heard that there was I've looked back at the Panata, I can't recall what that was, but I believe the Black Diary was also known as and this is complete hearsay. This is why I didn't bring this up.
Okay, pause there. Tell me after, and we'll see whether it's worth disclosing it in open court. Do you mind if I ask you after you?
I don't mind it.
As long as I can be present, Mr. Bolton.
Yeah. Sure. Can we have a little break?
Yes, we're going to adjourn for lunch. I'm just going to put on the record that by my estimation, we lost about 2.5 hours of evidence this morning. It may be that we will not be in a position to complete the evidence today as planned.
Your Honour, I'm prepared to sit till 5:30 if...
I don't know whether that will be sufficient to complete the evidence. There was no plan to finish earlier than our normal sitting time, but given that we have lost 2.5 hours today and our days this week were extremely structured, it may be that we are unable to complete the evidence today.